pushing every inch of me to rid myself of poetry that came from in between your teeth that night. I'm washing way down to my bones to get a little closer to home and find out where it all went wrong that night. Wasn't my fault, wasn't my fault. I'm going down to the place where you have found.
So, welcome to the new little tiny climbing hole review wall. I built this for training, and I built all of these holds for me personally, but I'm going to review them for you. Our first review is for a company called SynRock or Petrogrips or StickyRock, and they're actually the StickyRock holds, which will be sold for now under the SynRock brand, and it's owned by Jim Bowers. Now, the holds are on the wall, and for me to show them to you, I'm going to have to do a little bit of work quickly. So bear with me for call it 5 seconds. We'll speed it up. Right, done. So, StickyRock is a new brand from Jim Bowers. You know, he's got SynRock and he's got Petrogrips, and they both do fairly well. SynRock's one thing and Petrogrips is another. Look at the reviews. We'll put a link in the video description so you can actually see it. But what he's done now is he's made a new company, a new mix, and he's calling it StickyRock, or if it changes, we'll change it. So Jim's holds aren't cheap. Actually, no, sorry. Jim's holds are cheap. My bad. Jim's holds are very cheap. He'll send you a box of holds, and for this case it's 14 holds, in a flat rate USPS shipping box, which means the shipping is dirt cheap, like something like $17 maybe to Canada. So if you're in the States, it's super cheap. The boxes are quite heavy because it's a flat shipping rate. He doesn't care. He'll pack the box with as many holds as he can. So you're really getting your bang for your buck. I'm having a bit double speak today. Now, I posted on Root Setters Anonymous on Facebook saying, hey, what hold should I get for my, it was going to be a 30-degree wall, but it's actually a 22.5. What hold should I get? And Jim was like, confirm your shipping address. And then a bunch of holds came through from Jim, bunch of different shipping boxes in one big box. Thank you, Jim. And they were the first holds to go on the wall. The wall's been reset a few times because we finished this way before Christmas, but there's one route that I kept, which was the first route I set with these StickyRock holds, because I bought a set of holds. Where are they? Here. E-Grips 2-Tex Pure Crimps, and there was a route I did way back at the start of Climbing Hole Review where I wanted to redo that route and relook at the holds. So what I did was I set something very similar with these holds from Jim. Now, the reason why I did the route on these holds rather than trying to do it on the 2-Tex is because I've been route setting a bunch, but I've been route climbing an awful lot, and my core strength and my finger strength, you know, I'm great for routes. I'm climbing 5'11", 5'12", you know, without too much of a problem, but my bouldering has gone to crap. Now, to do this route, I'm going to have to work and train a little bit more to actually get this done. So I went for something that's actually deeper and bigger than what the route I want to be doing, so I don't knacker my fingers, although they're knackered, and go. So, StickyRock, 14 holds, and they look like this. They are really just simple. You can tell they're probably clay molded. Really simple holds. They're actually really quite heavy, but they've got this texture to them and a coolness to them. If you take one of these when it's on the wall, actually these are Jim's holds as well, and you feel like the Watar holds which are here, and you feel these from these, I believe these are StickyRock as well, and these are a different set from StickyRock. These are actually much more rock-like and actually much nicer. What's also interesting, and Jim loves to point this out, so I'll point it out for you, is these holds and these holds don't actually spin with a temperature difference in the room or the climbing wall where they're actually set. It's minus something outside, 20, and I've had the windows open, but there's heating on in the house. Now, some of the Watar holds, even though they do have set screw holes in them, have spun and loosened up where the bolts have actually expanded. But these, actually, because I cinched them down quite well, haven't actually spun at all. I've not had to touch them, and they've been on the wall for 2 months, and none of them are spun. Not once. None of the footholds. It's like perfect. They do suck down. Anyway, number 1 of 14 is this guy. You rock round, and they're just really simple. Essentially one pad. This one's slightly Incut here, slightly Incut here, flat with a slight rise. You know, they're very, very, very simple holds. The sanding, well, Jim doesn't bother to sand his holds. He gave up sanding. Sanding's so old school, Jim doesn't do it anymore. He's just given up. But the holds are really, 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 they're all very similar, but they're all really nice. Like one pad all the way around, just under a pad, slightly Incut, and you're getting these really nice pinches. And for a 20 or 30 degree wall, this set, which I don't know the price, I'll check and put it up on screen. This set, if I had another big climbing wall, and I'm buying a house soon, so I probably will, just to fill in gaps and footholds, little sneaky handholds, I'm going straight to StickyRock and I'm going to buy a bunch of their holds because they're dirt cheap. They do the job. They're not pretty. They're good. I've never had a problem with Jim when his bolt holes. They always bolt down really well. And there's always a nice washer in here, and it's like the holds. We did a bunch of reviews for StickyRock and Petro grips, and this is StickyRock obviously, and some stuff was great, some stuff it's very hit and miss sometimes, but these holds, which we'll talk about in a different review, and these guys, bomb proof, absolutely, like best holds Jim's made for forever. These are my favourite holds that I've seen, that I've climbed on, and I've played with his holds an awful lot. Look, slight Incut, flat through, like you're looking at like just really simple, everything's really similar, but you can play with it. There's enough meat on these holds for you to play with. They're all essentially, like if I take the two of them, they're all pretty much the same size as well. There's no muss, there's no fuss, but beautiful little thumb catch on this guy. Like it's just beautiful. Like the texture's really interesting, and maybe I've not been bouldering enough. I have been finding that after training on these, and I just climbed on them, my fingertips do take a little bit of a beating, like I'm climbing outdoors, and they're actually really good holds for training for outdoors, to get your skin up to prep. Like the Watar holds, some of them really are actually more bitey than these. This has a very fine, very granular texture, and like just with the coolness, like you don't really have to chalk too much when you get on these guys. You just get on and you go, like one pad all the way around, really nice thumb catches. What's super interesting is, even though the bolt holes aren't actually made for martini head bolts, I didn't have enough bolts, so I have been using martini heads with these, and even those guys didn't spin, and these holes aren't made for martini heads. They've got a little bit crumpled where I've actually whizzed them in with the thing, but meh, who cares? This guy, you can say this one's got a lot. Like, you can tell we've been chalking them, but like just 3/4 pad thumb catch. Even though I'm saying Jim doesn't sand anymore, these are pretty damn flat holds. They're not, they're not technical. Look at this guy. They are pretty damn flat holds. And again, look, just under a pad. Go through it and just look at them. They're all really simple. It's kind of like a heavy ceramic, and these aren't going to the gym. These aren't going into a route anywhere. The only routes you're going to see us filming with these holds is actually going to be on this wall, because they're my holds, even though I do take my holds to the gym. These are staying here because I don't trust people with Jim's holds. When they're up on a wall and we're stripping the wall, people just throw them, they bounce off other holds, and these will get dinked up a bit. They did get a little bit scuffed in shipping, but these guys, I'm actually genuinely impressed by the feel of these. Like, I've had some of Jim's smoother stuff, and I've had some of his dual texture. I think they were called pods at the time, and they were a really interesting thing, but really super brittle. And like, you could, like, you know, you drop one of those, you actually crack the ceramic, the Synrock that was actually on the inside. But these are actually really, really bomb proof, and a few of them have got chipped up in, like, scuffed up in shipping, but meh, who cares? This guy is actually like just under 3/4 pad all the way round, but it's like Incut here, flat here, or flat to slight Incut here, and then like flat, round, and go. And I'm gonna keep going back to texture. Texture is what keeps us climbing and what keeps us on the wall. You know, obviously friction, but texture is part of that. And these guys have texture for days. This one's like a little doorknob, like, yeah, like all over a pad. But if you look through and go, it's like, you know, it's not the prettiest thing on the planet. But if I had a home wall and I needed climbing holds, and you spent like $1,000 building a climbing wall and you had no holds, what would you do? You look for the cheapest holds. You either go and buy factory seconds if you can get them. You'd either go to your local gym and see if they're getting rid of any climbing holds, and that's very hit and miss because some people never get rid of their climbing holds. Or you go and find the cheapest holds you can actually get on the planet, and the cheapest holds you're going to get is either Atomic, Synrock, or a couple of the other brands. Like right now, if you're in Canada, you'd buy Canadian brands. You'd buy Binary, you'd buy Friction, you'd buy Redpoint, Technic, etc. Maybe not Technic because you're still paying quite a lot of shipping from Aragon down south in America. But you're looking local, and if you're American and you've got a nice exchange rate, then you'd buy Canadian because your dollar's, you know, better. So you can buy Canadian holds cheaper than we can buy American holds. But if you're looking for just a cheap deal, good holds, and you're going to look after them, Synrock. And this is number 9. We're going through. This is like, see, these two holds. This is the one I looked at. Are very, very similar in shape, but this guy is slightly different. And like, go through and just grab, and you can see where the rubber's got onto it. But it's not, doesn't seem to be taking rubber as much as urethane or polyurethane would actually take. You know, there's rubber on this, but not so much. And like, some of these are actually footholds for the route you just saw me climbing a couple of times, and the rubber is not sticking, which is something I'd not noticed before, which is really super interesting. I thought, like, my wall there's rubber all over it, but these holds aren't actually taking rubber, but they're giving great footholds. This is number 11 of 14. Look, slightly Incut, pad through, slightly Incut, pad, flat. But these are all really great pinches, all really good pinches. And even though, like, you see me like just grabbing and going, and I really much prefer an open hand kind of crimp than this, but I was trying pretty hard, so I was actually crimping a little bit. Yeah, open handing these on a 22-degree wall, completely possible. 30-degree wall, we did have this at 30 degrees. Totally possible. Harder, yes, of course, but it's definitely possible. We're down to the last 3 of StickyRock. This guy is probably one of the biggest ones. Incut. You can see obviously where we've been using it for the route. Like, if we want to make it harder, we'd either, obviously this is a left-hand hold, excuse me, because there's a thumb there. Like, if we wanted to make it harder, we'd actually switch it around to the other 2 sides, because it does actually, the hold does actually slope a little bit, so it's a little bit thicker this side than that side, but not by much. But sometimes a couple of millimeters or even a millimeter on a hold on an angled wall is the difference between you staying on the hold and staying on the route, or getting pitched onto your ass. And these guys actually have texture where, you know, the difference between this getting this hold on this wall and actually not, because of the texture of these holds and the grippiness of them, because they are really super grippy but don't destroy your skin, is probably going to be about half of this. If you knock that by half, then it's going to get really, really, really super interesting on these holds. These holds actually, if they were made like something like this guy, or this guy, which is the Tron discs from Technic, like, for days. These things are actually really hard on anything. They're like great for a rest, great holds, but like a set of discs with this texture, and you know, yes, they'd be heavy and you don't want to chip the edges and whatever else, but there'd be some really bloody good holds. So the last 2, This guy, again, a slight doorknob. Go through, and you're looking like, you're looking at a thumb depth on this guy, and just the texture. They still smell fresh. Just the texture. And the last one from StickyRock, from Mr. Jim. Thank you again, Jim. You can see where I've been a little bit overzealous and I've dropped it and chipped it. Is this guy, and you look at the shoe rubber. If you look at the shoe rubbers on this, and this has been on a wall for 2 months, it hasn't picked up that much shoe rubber, and we've been climbing on it quite a lot, and there were only a certain number of footholds because we were using footholds from StickyRock for this route, as well as handholds, which probably made it a little bit harder than it needed to be, and shoe rubber's just not sticking. And to be honest, considering I chalk up every single time I climb this route, they really didn't take that much chalk, and I've not brushed them. They've actually done really good for like 2 months. They've barely got chalked up, and I'm using Friction Labs chalk, but I'm using chalk, and I'm chalking my hands on the start holds. I'm chalking and going, and that's probably the right hand start hold, and the chalk that it's taken isn't really that much. Like, there's chalk on it, but it really seems to keep the chalk in rather than dusting it around. Anyway, last hold is this guy. Just under 3/4 pad, half to 3/4 pad, half to 3/4 pad, but like you can see, look at the texture, look at the rubber, and look at the hold. So these are StickyRock from Jim Bowers. He's the owner of Sinrock and Petrogrips. They're a new line. There's some new stuff. These have carbon nano in them, so I'm going to get into that with him in a later date in a different review. We've been playing with these a whole bunch. These are actually harder to hold on to than these ones, because they're a little bit sloppier and they're a little bit harder. But StickyRock, keep an eye out for it. It'll be sold under the Sinrock brand for the time being. We'll update our links and profiles, and we'll update everything when Jim actually decides what he's doing. But they're a new set of holds. I'll check the price and I'll check the shipping, and I'll pop it up screen now so you can actually see how much. $14, how much it's going to cost you. 14 holds, it's costing you this much per hold, and it's costing you this much to ship. Like, that's a really, really cheap deal. Jim, super impressed. These are your best holds. Actually, these are probably better than these, but these are the best holds that you've made so far. Super impressed. I'm gonna go set some more routes, get some people over, have another session, drink some tea, do some more filming, and write some more reviews. So, welcome to the new wall. We're gonna be filming at the gym, here, all over the place. So it's gonna be a little bit more interesting. We can get much closer hand shots, and you can get better content. You people stay pretty. Please subscribe on the next screen. Peace.